All right, Councilwoman Blackwell, I see you being coy over there. Thank you all. Thank you all for being here this morning. I'm Liz Hirsch. I'm the director of the city's Office of Homeless Services. I have to say that when I accepted this position, I didn't realize that I was also going to be the director of services to people who are panhandling on the streets, but here we are. So we're here today to talk about a new education and giving pilot to address homelessness. And the takeaway I would like you to have today is about alternatives. When people ask for money on the street, it's because they need money. But there are other ways to help them meet their needs. And we are piloting today and announcing today the launch of a Text to Give campaign. And in a few minutes, when we get a little further, we'll have everybody take out your phone and launch this campaign. But let me talk a little bit about what's going on that's brought us here today. First of all, I want to thank all of the members of our community, our very diverse, concerned community who are here today, because you may not all recognize one another. All of you who are providers of services to people who are homeless or advocates for people who are homeless, please raise your hands. All of you who consider yourselves to be members of the business, civic, and hospitality industries in Philadelphia, please raise your hands. So I want you to note that what we have here today is a very diverse group of people, a big tent. And in today's political times, the idea that people with diverse constituencies with different points of view come together and work together around in a unified way of solving a very pressing problem is, to say the least, countercultural. I would say it's radical. So I want to thank you all for putting aside whatever differences you may feel and putting them to coming together around the common good of solving these very pressing problems that affect so many individuals in our community. We're deeply concerned about the number of people who are experiencing street homelessness. Our 2017 point-in-time count showed that there were 956 people who were unsheltered. Guess where the biggest increases were? They were among people who were suffering from opioid addictions, and they were largely in Kensington, although not exclusive. We did see a bump in Center City as well. This is disturbing. This is also a national trend, and if anybody's been to LA, Portland, Seattle, San Francisco, Houston, Minneapolis lately, you can see that we are not the only place that is struggling with it. It's a national crisis, and it requires a national solution. We are also seeing an uptick in the number of people who are panhandling, although in truth we don't know how many people are panhandling at given time. Let's just say it feels like there's more. This is also a national crisis and a national trend. In between the November 2016 and January 2017, the Managing Director's Office for Health and Human Services interviewed 129 persons who were found panhandling. Guess what we learned? When people panhandle, the reason they do it is for money. And what are they using that money for? They're using it to buy drugs, they're using it to buy food, they're using it to find a place to sleep for the night. But when we looked at the demographics, again, what we saw was the long tentacles of the opioid crisis affecting life on the street among the most vulnerable people. We saw that the demographics are those of the opioid, very similar to the opioid population. So we're not sitting idly by, waiting. We are actively taking action. As you know, the mayor convened the Shared Public Spaces Working Group, and Julie Coker-Graham and Brian Abernathy, who are here today, who are the leaders of this group, will be speaking to you momentarily. Those groups have been working together very closely to come up with new solutions. Last year, we piloted Prime Times in Hotspots and Prime Times Outreach Initiative. And guess what? It worked. Calls to outreach are up by 50% over the past year. Just over the winter, outreach made nearly 15,000 contacts, 47 of which were unduplicated. Now, most people don't stay homeless for a long time. They move in and out. But they made 2,100 placements with a 35% placement rate. That pilot program was a remarkable success. We added 133 permanent housing units, many of which were housing first, and others of which were for people with serious mental illness, such as those in the concourse. And in the past fiscal year, July 1 through the end of May, we helped 927 homeless families and households gain permanent housing. We are not standing idly by. We have expanded daytime services so there are more places for people to go during the day to access services, to access housing, to get connected with treatment, whether it's substance addiction treatment or whether it's mental health treatment. Last year, and in the first 6 weeks of that pilot, we doubled the number over the previous 6 months. We are not standing idly by. We are trying everything we can to attack these problems in a humane, caring, dignified way. We are forging ahead, and today we are going to show you our new campaign, which is an education campaign, which is a text to give. And we will come back to that in a moment. Right now, I'd like to introduce the mayor of the City of Philadelphia, the Honorable Jim Kenney.
Well, good morning, everyone, and I'd like to really thank our Shared Public Spaces Work Group for their efforts over the past several months. Under the leadership of Julie Coker and Brian Abernathy, we were able to bring the business community to the table as a partner in helping us address the problem of chronic street homelessness and food access. Government cannot solve these complex problems alone, and this private-public partnership is needed now more than ever. Our recent point-in-time count survey shows that both homelessness and panhandling is up, in no small part, as we've heard, because of the opioid crisis. Philadelphia still has the lowest unsheltered population of the major cities, but we have to reverse this trend. Accordingly, we are taking action. In our budget this year, we proposed $1 million more for homeless housing, which will translate into roughly 70 new permanent housing units. We've also expanded daytime options as of 6 weeks ago. The Mental Health Association New Life Center is now open 7 days a week. These additional hours have allowed them to twice the number of people in the last 6 weeks that they saw the previous 6 months. Additionally, we are working together with SEPTA to expand the Hub of Hope with Sister Mary and Project Home beginning in 2018. Today, we are here to announce new steps in addressing panhandling, which Julie and Brian will announce momentarily, including ways that the general public can help. Before I turn it over to Julie and Brian, I'd just like to say, this is a really difficult problem because we're dealing with human beings. These are not potholes or street lights or alley lights. These are people who are complex, who have complex problems, and we need to understand that. And there's no one-size-fits-all for anyone that's on the street. Everyone's a different human being. Everyone's a different person. And again, as we said, the opioid crisis has just exacerbated this problem and has created all kinds of problems for us throughout the city in various sections. Our issue on Gurney Street we're still working on, and that's been a very difficult and complex issue. So, I'm very hopeful, though, that because of all the folks who have come together, the advocates, the business community, service providers, hospitality industry, I think we can not solve this problem. This problem is going to be a long time solving, but address it in a way that makes everyone feel that we're doing the best for our citizens and people who live in our city and are out on the streets. I'd also like to take the opportunity to thank Councilwoman Blackwell. I've been in elected government now for about 26 years. When I first come into council, I had very different view of homeless and homeless services and how we could easily solve this problem. I was taken under her wing and was taught very clearly that this is a complex problem, and it is they are human beings, and you can't arrest your way, you can't pick people up off the street, you have to approach this in a very concise and measured approach so that in the end it's actually effective. You can move people all day long, but if they're never going to get their issues resolved or solved or addressed, we're going to be moving people forever. So they're going to come up and give you some details on the program and the plans we have. I'd like to thank everyone sincerely in this room who were involved in this process and who contributed to it for all your help and for your understanding and for your desire to make it better. So thank you.
That's why he's the most popular mayor in America. He speaks how we feel. Councilwoman Blackwell, will you join us for a moment?
Thank you. Good morning. As always, we thank God first and foremost for the pleasure of being all of us together for this such an important basic function, need, and this program. All the good things we say about the mayor are true. I've been involved in homelessness since the program started, and Lucian Blackwell was involved in that because we came to City Hall January 3rd, 1976. Been around a while. And I will tell you that this mayor's commitment to it, and he couldn't pick a better person than Liz Hirsch, makes all the difference in the world. This is going to be an interesting person to find a way to give, and as long as we don't try to, every now and then we get someone or the same person who tries over and over to get rid of homelessness. They've tried from river to river, from Delaware to 30th, but of course, you know, as long as God gives the rest of us breath, it won't happen. And so we're very, very happy to be a part of all of these programs and all that we can to help people. And let me say, of course, every summer we have our little barbecue. It's Friday, July 14th, 12 to 3 in the courtyard. And we make it everybody. I always do it close to my birthday, which is the next day. And we make it everybody's birthday because everybody has one. So we have DJ, and we wish everybody happy birthday no matter how it is. And we have barbecue and hot dogs and hamburgers, and anybody wants to come and join us because, you know, homelessness is everybody's issue. We always have all kinds of people there, from judges to anybody wants to come by, right, Penny? And we have water ice and we have pretzels. We have a great time. So if you're down this way, if you work nearby, on Friday, July 14th, if you pass the courtyard, just stop and get a hot dog, say hi to the people, and we all have fun. And it's my way of keeping spirits up, letting everybody know. Everybody needs to know that all of us care, and there's so many of us who do our part to be part of the solution. So thank you all. Thank you all who are here, and God bless you.
I'd like to introduce Brian Abernathy, Deputy Managing Director, and Julie Coker, President and CEO, Julie Coker Graham, pardon me, and President and CEO of the Philadelphia Visitor and Convention Bureau, who are the co-chairs of our Shared Public Spaces Working Group, and many of the people you see here today have been participating in the Shared Public Spaces Work Group. Thank you.
Thank you. Clearly, the city understands the challenges that businesses, residents, and our visitors face when confronted with homelessness and panhandling. And these are problems that nearly every city in America are dealing with and struggling with, and it's fueled in part by the opioid crisis and in part by the need for additional housing resources. In Philadelphia, we're committed to addressing these issues, but we're also committed to addressing them with dignity and with respect. We aren't going to make homelessness illegal. We won't criminalize this behavior, and we certainly won't arrest ourselves out of a panhandling problem. Arresting these issues, making them part of the system, giving people criminal records, it just makes the problem worse. That's not to say, however, that we're going to condone panhandling. This campaign is about disrupting behavior and providing alternatives. It provides a way for good people to give without giving directly to the individual. It encourages generosity, but discourages panhandling as an economic activity. And this campaign is one piece of a much larger plan that the business community, service providers, and the city have worked hard to put together. We need to continue to expand our daytime services so people have somewhere to go to get the help that they need. We need to expand drug treatment, as recommended by the Opioid Task Force, and we must tackle low-barrier employment as an alternative to panhandling. While this activity isn't illegal, it's certainly not okay. It's not okay to disrupt our businesses or impact our quality of life, but more importantly, it's not okay for people to have to make a living like this. Before I turn it over to Julie, I do want to thank Councilwoman Blackwell for your ongoing support and your leadership on these issues. I also want to thank Bev Harper for the incredible amount of work that you did in putting this campaign together, as well as SEPTA, the Chamber of Commerce, and all of our partners on the Shared Public Spaces Working Group, and finally to the staff, Liz Hirsch, Eva Gladstein, Julia Hinckley, and Krista Okafor. The work that you all have put together has been absolutely incredible. I recognize that I'm just a figurehead, and the real work is happening for us by other folks, and it's very much appreciated. Julie?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm here today as a member of the hospitality community, which supports over 71,000 hospitality-related jobs in the city. Our priority at the Philadelphia Convention and Visitors Bureau is to generate economic impact and job growth by increasing Philadelphia and the region's hotel occupancy and revenues. We stand together with Mayor Kenny and his team in support of solutions to address aggressive panhandling and homelessness. As co-chair of the Shared Public Spaces Initiative and as president and CEO of the Philadelphia Convention and Visitors Bureau, I understand the importance of ensuring that our vibrant public spaces offer a positive experience for everyone, both residents and visitors alike. As the mayor outlined, aggressive panhandling poses challenges for both residents and visitors, and this is a national problem. Through public-private partnerships like Shared Spaces, it's our goal to ensure that solutions are being developed and implemented so that those affected by homelessness and those that are aggressively panhandling are offered supportive services and options for improving their situation. By doing so, we will make Philadelphia a more welcoming and inclusive place for all. The hospitality community wants to see real systemic change with regards to homelessness and aggressive panhandling. By improving the overall fabric of our community, we will make Philadelphia a more desirable place to live, work, and of course, visit. Thank you so much.
Okay, get out your phone. All right, so this is what you do. I was just testing it one more time. I had like a little nervous moment here. Okay. So you text 800-77, 800-77. Put that into your number, and then the word you type is share. Everybody know how to spell share? And then press send, and you will get a message back that says to confirm your $5 donation to the Mayor's Fund, and this is the Mayor's Fund to End Homelessness that comes directly to the Office of Homeless Services. We will match it, and we will put that money into programs that work. Permanent housing for people on the streets, like run by Bethesda. Low barrier employment, like One Step Away, the newspaper. Daytime cafes, like Broad Street Ministry. The funds that we get, we will put directly into real solutions, housing, jobs, and services to help people end homelessness. Everybody get it? Wait, how much money did we make? So we're encouraging everyone, if you don't feel comfortable giving money to someone who is asking on the street, you have a choice, you have an alternative. You can text to share, and we will put that into Real Solutions. And finally, I'd like to introduce Tammy, one of our One Step Away vendors, because another thing that you can do that we already have is buy One Step Away, the newspaper, the homeless newspaper. Tammy, you want to say a few words?
Good morning, Mr. Mayor and all his guests. My name is Tammy Caruza. I found black mold in my apartment one day, and that was the last straw for me. I totally gave up on life and became homeless. While I was out on the street, I ran into an angel from my past, and she took me off the street and put me in a residential hotel. I knew I wanted more, and I was already selling One Step Away. You might recall when I stood in front of Dunkin' Donuts last summer with holes in my shoes and swollen feet. Since then, One Step Away has allowed me to upgrade myself from that residential hotel to a boarding house. And I know it will also allow me to upgrade myself to a small apartment. So not only do I have a way for financial help, but I also have a way for hope. And there's nothing more important that you can give somebody who's down and out than a little slice of hope. One Step Away has helped me to build a large support group. A lot of my customers are very supportive people. They want to see how my life is going. They stop and ask me how everything is. When I upgraded myself to the boarding house, I took pictures on my phone and came out and showed all my customers, and they were like, "Oh, that's so great." The next day, they were bringing me a throw blanket, a clock radio, and things that I might need for my room. And that's what people are really like. When you scratch the surface, that's what you find underneath the veneer we all walk around with to protect ourselves. Because there really are a lot of good people out there, and they really do want to help. And One Step Away is a way that they can see that we do need help. And I love this paper. I cannot say enough about it. I've had a chance to write for the paper. You might recall the article about child abuse back in March. This paper gave me that venue in which to say what needed to be said. That's another thing I like about One Step Away. It gives us so much. It's hard to really list everything for you, but this paper is definitely it's a great thing. Thank you.
Great. Are there questions? Thank you so much, Tammy, for sharing your story. Card? Yes. What we know from the survey we did of panhandlers is that the demographic looks a lot like the opioid demographic. And people who have fallen into addiction and are on the streets asking for money may or may not be homeless, and they may or may not be experiencing housing insecurity. So they may be cycling in and out. But where they've started is with the addiction, and the homelessness, whether they cycle in and out, is more of a byproduct of burned bridges. This is what we think is happening. There are still people who began as homeless, and they have also the addiction. But that's really the distinction, is kind of where they started, and what is the main thing that has to be addressed first. Why not just give them money? If you want to give somebody money, I can't stop you. The evidence that we see is that the money is quite likely going to be used for drugs. So that's your choice. What we're proposing instead, and then that keeps the cycle going. What we're proposing instead is that we can provide alternatives. You were given, when you walked in, a list of all of the meals that are available. There is food available for free for people all over the city every day and night of the week. We also provided you with Where to Turn, which is just a small subset of all of the various services that are available to people. So we encourage you to introduce yourself, be kind, be human. Say hi, say, no, I can't help you out today. Here's where meals are, here's where you can get help. I'll buy you a meal, can we sit and talk? But just giving money just keeps the cycle going.
Your suggestion to the public is they not provide cash or direct money to anyone panhandling the streets of Philadelphia.
I don't like to tell people what to do, but let me let the mayor.
I will admit myself that I've given people money in the past, because someone looks that down and out. You have to understand that it's not going to help solve their ultimate problem. It'll address an immediate problem of either hunger or drug addiction, but it's not going to solve the problem at large. So to recycle that money into organizations that expand shelter beds, that expand feeding, indoor feeding, that expand those services, drug addiction services, counseling, job readiness, will in the end cut down on the number of people on the street. I'm a type of person that has empathy for people, and if I got an extra couple bucks, I tend to want to give it to them, but it doesn't help. It really doesn't help them in the end. And even folks that have been around, as compassionate as people like Sister Mary is, will tell you the exact same thing, that they're better off in Project Home or in one of the permanent housing situations than they are on the street, and there's no motivation then to go get help.
I don't see anybody from, although I see them in the audience, I don't see anybody from law enforcement sitting up here. Is there no role for law enforcement?
Yeah, under the, I am not going to be the mayor, and again, I talked about this when I first came into council. I'm not going to be a mayor that's going to lock up people for being poor. Just not doing it. I'm not locking up people for being undocumented. I'm not locking them up for being poor.
What if they harass people on the street?
That's a different level. Sitting there on a sidewalk with a cup is not harassing people for money. Getting in someone's face and following them down the street, that's a different situation. You should call 911 and allow the police to investigate.
Liz, can you speak a little bit more about the changing demographics of the homeless population?
Yeah, Brian, did you have something you wanted to add? I did want you to see that Chief Nestel was in the back there from the SEPTA Police. Sorry.
More to the changing demographic of the homeless population you referred to, the 900 or so plus from last year. Are these mostly white males and these white women? Is it both? How does that change from what the demographic was 10 years ago?
Well, we're just looking at the one-year change. We're seeing just a much higher number in the Kensington area. I'm sorry, I don't have the demographic, the exact breakdown in front of me. But yeah, we are seeing more male, more young, under about 40. And yeah, that's really the big change.
What about the racial makeup? Is it skewed higher to a Caucasian?
We are seeing an increase in white people who are presenting as homeless. That is, again, that's more of the overlay with the opioid. And I'm not saying, that there's a stark contrast, but we are seeing that there are more parallels. I'd be happy to get you more specific numbers later today.
Liz, just to be clear, with the text, it's $5 donation, or you can choose your.
This is a $5 donation. If you want to give more, we can arrange that.
And it just comes out of the person's phone bill.
Yeah, off your phone bill, so you don't have to stand and enter your credit card. You don't have to get your credit card out. And on our website, under Shared Public Spaces, there's a list of all the nonprofits. We encourage everybody to give more, volunteer more. The more we can do, the more the nonprofits can do, the more we can get to the root causes of these problems.
And those nonprofits are going to go to the housing services. It's those various nonprofits that will get the money right?
Yes, yeah. And we work with about 65 nonprofits. Some are represented here today: Bethesda Project, Homeless Advocacy Project, Resources for Human Development, Pathways to Housing, Broad Street Ministry, Project Home. all of those nonprofits and many more. The reason that we did it is because it's doable. It's something that we can do right away. It's a public information and education tool to let people know that there is an alternative that they can do, and it's in the context of more broader solutions. No. We'll reprogram some money from the Office of Homeless Services to match anything that's raised. This is a pilot that we're going to try again like this through the summer, like we've done with the hotspots and prime times, like we did with the DNC House Not Hidden, trying a pilot, seeing how it works, adjusting, and then making changes and seeing if we want to institutionalize it. So we'll assess this by the end of September and then see where we are.
There's some concern on the part of law enforcement. We have done some early reporting that enforcing loitering laws on homeless folks in public places would not stand up to a court challenge. Can you speak to whether that's still the case, whether loitering is not something that's going to be enforced?
Thanks, Jeff. I think, look, I said this earlier in my remarks, we're not going to arrest ourselves out of this issue, period. If we actually want to address homelessness as a challenge, it's to address the root causes of that challenge, which are economic in focus. We are not going to be able to arrest ourselves out, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't be providing relief to our business community and our residents and our visitors. But no, we are not going to use law enforcement to address homelessness.
The tenants in the concourse at Suburban Station argue that this winter they took tremendous hits. In fact, they're asking SEPTA to pay rent back to them because loitering, they claim, wasn't being enforced. There were too many folks down there. So, are you going to move people along, or in fact, in public places, folks will be allowed to stay? And how does the Convention and Visitors Bureau sort of handle that if it's hurting them economically?
I think, again, this program, this campaign isn't a one-size-fits-all. We don't believe this is a silver bullet. It's not a panacea. This is part of a larger program. Part of that is providing additional places for folks to go during the day. It's providing additional resources for folks to get the services that they need, and it's also about addressing low-barrier employment. This is one step in a much larger campaign to address homelessness across the city, not just in Suburban Station, but across the city and across all of our issues.
Do you anticipate that if there is a shutdown or decrease in money flow, cash flow to panhandling activities, that nuisance crimes rise, car break-ins, changing cars, things that could be potentially tied to the shut-off cash flow?
I don't think so. I think it's something we'll continue to monitor as the campaign rolls out. But I think this is, quite frankly, panhandling for some folks is the way they earn a living. It's their job. And I think if we want to disrupt that activity, we need to disrupt the economics of the activity. And we think this helps provide that opportunity.
Thank you.